Mayor de Blasio is giving an update on the conditions in New York City after last night's snowstorm. Let's go to it now.
Some sun peeking through the clouds this morning, so that's a really good sign. We're going to talk about the storm in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about yesterday. So meaningful, so powerful, so emotional, being at Elmhurst Hospital, the place that was the epicenter within the epicenter of the coronavirus crisis, the place that was hit hardest in all of New York City. 10 months ago, Elmhurst Hospital going through hell. But what strong people there at Elmhurst, what good people, the healthcare heroes who saw us through. How amazing to be there yesterday as the first healthcare workers in our public hospitals got their vaccine. Talk about an amazing turnaround, that the vaccine being given to the very same people who saved lives by the thousands 10 months ago. 2 healthcare workers were the first to be vaccinated in all of our public hospitals. Veronica Delgado, who's a lead physician assistant in the emergency department, and William Kelly, service aide in the environmental services department. They both were wonderful, and they both spoke from the heart about how important it was for their fellow healthcare workers and all New Yorkers to get the vaccine. And William said something that just brought it all together. He said, I hope everybody takes the shot so we can all get back together. Think about that. It's the simplest, most powerful explanation of why we need the vaccine so we can all get back together. I want everyone to be thinking about that in the weeks and months ahead. By getting that vaccine and helping others, encouraging others to do it, it means we can turn the page and start to do the things we love and get back together with our family and friends the way we've missed so much. So the approach we're going to take to this vaccine is really to amplify voices like William's. Folks in every neighborhood. We had some of our colleagues from the clergy on yesterday. You're going to be hearing from clergy. You're going to hear from elected officials, community leaders, and everyday New Yorkers talk about why the vaccine is important, why it's safe, why it's easy, why it's effective. We need to get the word out. Now, we have just started in the last few days the vaccine effort. It's going to ramp up much more every single day. But here's the up-to-date number of people vaccinated in New York City, 5,200. New since yesterday morning, 3,565. These numbers are going to grow rapidly with each day as the approach to the vaccine gets refined more each day and more people are brought into play. So again, first few days, it's going to be slow and steady ramp up, then you're going to see a takeoff. And now we have, so far in New York City, 42,900 doses have arrived. So we have plenty of supply. We're going to be getting that out all over the city. Now, at the same time, we got to get people good information. Just as important as where the vaccine is making sure people understand it, they trust it, they get answers to their questions, we fight back the misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation out there. We have to overcome that. And we have to remind people of the situation we're living with. The virus keeps causing us a challenge. The rate of infection keeps going up in the city. Hospitalizations keep going up. We've got a serious issue here. That's why we need the vaccine to fight the virus. But in the meantime, we need everyone to do what you know how to do, the masks, the social distancing, no travel, no big gatherings, keep gatherings small. These are the things we're going to need to do to keep fighting this virus. And a lot of people have said to me last few days, we don't want to see another pause, we don't want to see another shutdown, nor do I. But if you don't want to see those things, do something about it. Cancel travel plans, keep the gathering small, wear the mask, do all the things that help us fight the virus so we can try and avoid some of those measures that none of us want to see. Okay, let me go back to the storm. We were certainly braced for a major storm, and already we know that the amount of snow we saw in the last 24 hours was the most we've seen since January 2016. So it's really been years since we've had this kind of challenge. And we saw up to almost 11 inches in the Bronx so far. Most of the rest of the city somewhere in the 5 to 8 inch range. So serious amount of snow, but certainly our sanitation department can handle it. They have handled a whole lot worse than this, and they've done it brilliantly. I had the honor of being at the sanitation garage, Lower East Side, yesterday, talking to the good men and women who do this work. I want to shout them out again. Thank you to all the sanitation workers. You are heroes. You don't get enough credit. I want to keep giving you credit. You go out there as many hours as it takes. You clear the way. And because of you this morning, vaccine shipments are moving around New York City, and people are getting the things they need. Food shipments are moving. The things people need the most, folks are able to get to work because of you. So thank you to everyone at the Sanitation Department. Snow, as I said, tapering off now, just a little bit left. It'll end altogether around 1 p.m. A lot of wind still, but we can handle it, and those plowing operations continue all over the city. So this is a reminder, please help the Sanitation Department, help the good men and women doing this work. Get out of the way of the plows. The best thing you can do. Don't be out on the streets. Don't drive until we get through the plowing today. Tomorrow's going to be a much better day. Help out our good friends at Sanitation by giving them the freedom to do their job, stay off the streets to the maximum extent possible today. Now, alternate side parking update. They'll be suspended through Saturday, December 19th, to help continue the snow removal. And let's talk about schools as well today. Schools closed today. We announced that early afternoon yesterday. It's a remote learning day, obviously a new reality for our kids. Look, our kids need the chance to keep learning. They've been through so much this year. They have lost ground in terms of their learning. We need to help them. We have the ability to keep learning going today because of remote learning, so all kids have the opportunity to do that. There'll be a chance after school. Obviously, kids love being out in the snow, so they can go out and have a great time. Some sledding, maybe some snowball fights, whatever they can do after school. But I want to make sure everyone knows tomorrow school will be back in session in person. We are good to go for tomorrow. Friday school will be back in session in person. Okay, let's turn to outdoor dining. A lot of concern about making sure that the mom and pop restaurants out there and all the people who work in the dining industry have their jobs tonight, and so many people rooting for them. Here's the update. It's going to take a couple of different stages to get the final answer today. What we can say with assurance is that in Manhattan right now, Manhattan did pretty well in this storm. In Manhattan, we're going to have outdoor dining up and running tonight. And obviously, that's where a lot of the restaurants and jobs are. So we can tell you right now, through the great efforts of the Sanitation Department, we'll have outdoor dining up and running in Manhattan tonight. For the other 4 boroughs, we're going to have an update by about 1 o'clock today. And it could be different by borough. Obviously, different boroughs had different amount of snowfall, different conditions, different realities. We're going to speak to that later on today after Sanitation has a chance to do some more assessment and come back with the latest updates. So we will keep the public posted, and we'll keep our colleagues in the restaurant industry posted as we get that information over the next few hours. Okay, with that, to give you further updates, I'm going to first turn to our Emergency Management Commissioner, and she and her team have done a great job dealing with all the issues around this storm, as they do with every major weather event and every challenge the city faces. My pleasure to introduce Commissioner Deanne Criswell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you covered a lot of it, but I'll just reiterate a couple of really important points. The bulk of the storm has moved through the city, but there still is a winter storm warning in place until 1 p.m. We didn't get as much snow as we thought we were going to get, but we did get a wet, heavy snow, and so that's making for some pretty messy conditions out there. And so with that, I want to encourage everybody, you know, as you're going out and you're shoveling today, really take care of yourself, make sure you're staying hydrated, and take breaks in between shoveling, because it is going to be a little bit draining for you because it is a heavy snow. One of the positive things about this is we did not have as many power outages or downed trees that we thought we might have because of the wet snow and the wind. And so because it was not as much, we didn't have the significant outages, and so that was a really good piece of the storm. It is going to remain breezy today, though. As the snow starts to fade away by 1 p.m., you're going to see winds go through the evening. And as the snow melts a little bit, the weather isn't going to get much warmer, and with that wind, you're just going to see it turn back into freezing conditions later tonight. And so I want to just caution all New Yorkers, please take care. Please stay off the roads if you don't have to be on them. And if you're out walking around, as these conditions may turn icy again later this evening, please take extra caution. And as always, please look out for your neighbors, take care of one another, and stay safe.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and thanks to you and your team for a great job. And now also With tremendous thanks, turning to our acting sanitation commissioner and everyone at Sanitation. I love what these guys do. I am so proud of their effort, and they're doing it again right now out there, getting the city back on the feet in record time. Amazing work they do. My pleasure to introduce Sanitation Commissioner Ed Grayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor said, and as Deanne went over, we have definitely had a major storm event. We saw some depths that we haven't seen in a few years. And more important, the makeup of the composition of the storm, and some sleet mixing in. This makes it for a difficult plow storm. However, throughout the overnight and continuing today, we have basically plowed every street in the city. We're continuing with salting operations, and we will continue with plowing operations to get our streets safe and clear for everyone. Mother Nature, however, is not being very kind on the back end of this storm. So while we're seeing some clearing, we're going to have really cold temps. So what we want to make sure everybody's doing is heeding the warnings. If you can stay off the road, please do that. We will be continuing our plowing and salting operations continually throughout the rest of the day into tonight. Looking ahead, as the mayor said, we will be giving some guidance later on for the remainder of the decisions on outdoor dining structures. The outdoor dining structures did well structurally for the most part from our frontline reviews, from what we saw, and our operators did well navigating around them. So that means that the messaging worked, and we can't thank the restaurant owners and small businesses enough for doing their part, and we'd like to thank all the residents who did their part by not parking near them and giving us the room we needed. We ask that to continue. Our goal today and for the remainder of the day is to continue widening streets and salting, and we look to do that. Tonight, for those who are enjoying some outdoor dining after the final decisions are made, all I could say is this: it might not be a night to wear your good shoes. Only because there's going to be a lot of slush out there, because our job is to continue throwing salt down. We have to do that because of the rate of the cold weather coming in behind this storm. Also looking ahead, I'd like to let everybody know that tomorrow we will be employing emergency laborers. So the shift will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to do that Friday and Saturday. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've pre-registered over 500 laborers. All consider this the first notification, although you will be formally notified to come down. And for anybody else interested, you can go to nyc.gov/snow to find out more information. We would certainly take all the help we can get, because we're about to move into a manual operation starting tomorrow to get some of these catch basins and crosswalks and hydrants cleared to make sure that we're all healthy and safe in the wake of this event. Once we finish clearing everything, we're going to be out there, as I said, all night for the remainder into tomorrow. We'll talk about where we're going to be on refuse and recycling. We will continue to be delayed. The snow response will take all of our efforts for a while, and we hope to update shortly on where we'll be. So that is our update for the storm. We've done a great job. The men and women continue to do a great job, and we'll be out there for the rest of the day. Thank you, sir.
I want to say our sanitation commissioner, he's doing a lot for us here. He's doing a great job, and also telling us not to wear our fancy shoes tonight. I thank you. That is very good guidance. That's news you can use, everybody. A couple other things. So obviously it's going to be cold the next few days. Code Blue's in effect. That means making sure that any homeless folks who need shelter, we go out and quickly give them assistance. If you see anyone in need, call 311. Obviously, if it's urgent, call 911 right away. And most importantly, everyone, look, you heard the warning from Commissioner Criswell. Be careful about shoveling. Don't overdo. If you got someone who needs help in your neighborhood shoveling, if there's a senior that maybe you can chip in with or get someone to help them out, that's really great. Look out for your neighbors. Look out for someone that has any special need. New Yorkers do an amazing job looking out for each other. It's going to be cold. You know, we're going to be dealing with the snow and removal of the snow next few days. Let's be there for each other, as always. And that's a segue to what it means to be there for each other. Well, New Yorkers do it all the time, but our colleagues in Washington are not doing such a great job. There's a discussion going on right now on the stimulus, and this new stimulus proposal simply falls short. It's just not going to do enough to help New York City and New York State. We are not going to recover without help. We didn't create the coronavirus. The federal government has an obligation to New York. We were the epicenter of this crisis, has an obligation to help us. They simply haven't helped us enough. So what do we see right now in Washington? Endless discussion that now is leaving out all state and local aid. That means the city government, state government will not be able to get back on our feet and serve our people. It just doesn't make any sense. If you sideline local aid, you sideline the recovery. There won't be a recovery. So right now, I don't know how on earth these discussions are leaving out local aid. I don't find this package acceptable. It's not going to get us where we need to go. What is in the package that at least I can say is a step in the right direction, direct payments to everyday New Yorkers, everyday Americans. Of course we know we need that. That is one of the things that has sustained us to the degree we have been able to keep going. We also need to see, obviously, school funding. Keeping schools going has been a huge challenge, keeping them safe and healthy. We need school funding. We need transit funding. The MTA is in dire shape. We need to keep it going. That's urgent. And FEMA aid. This is the most obvious of all. We bore the brunt. We put out a huge amount of money to keep people safe, keep them healthy, keep them fed, keep a roof over their head. We have done extraordinary things in this city. Federal government should reimburse for those direct COVID-related costs. When you think about things that came from the coronavirus, not something that this city ever could have been prepared for, those are federal obligations. So FEMA reimbursement should be at 100% to make us whole, help us back on our feet. That's something that still could get done here. That would be crucial for New York and so many other places that have borne the brunt. So really, really unhappy with what I see, but if they are going to do a deal, at least get it right on the things that they're talking about now and help us keep going. But we're going to need a much bigger stimulus than this. We're going to need local and state aid as part of it if we're serious about helping people and getting back on our feet. Okay, let me go to our indicators. Number one, daily number of people admitted to New York City hospitals for suspected COVID-19. Today's report, 174 patients. We want to be under 200. Today we are. It's been tough in some of the last few days, but at least that's a little bit better number for today. But the number that's not good, hospitalization rate per 100,000. Today's number is 3.06. We want to be under 2, so that is not a good sign. New cases, this number keeps just getting bigger and bigger. Probable cases and confirmed cases get at 2,739. We want to be under 550. We got a long way to go, and everyone needs to be a part of turning it around. And then the percentage of New York City residents testing positive on the 7-day rolling average. Today's report, 6%. Again, that's an unacceptable number. We need to get under 5 and keep going down from there. So 6% is not acceptable. We got a lot of work to do. Okay, let me do a few words in Spanish. La primera nevada de la temporada está aquí y estamos trabajando fuerte para proteger a todos los neoyorquinos. Hoy debemos tener cuidado en las calles o quedarnos en casa hasta que sea más seguro salir. Nuestra ciudad siempre se recupera y esta nevada será otro ejemplo de cómo salimos adelante pronto y más fuertes. With that, let's turn to our colleagues in the media, and please let me know the name and outlet of each journalist.
Hi all, we'll now begin our Q&A. With us today is Sanitation Commissioner Edward Grayson, Commissioner of Emergency Management Deanne Criswell, Health and Hospital CEO Dr. Mitchell Katz, Health Commissioner Dr. Dave Chachki, Commissioner of Social Services Steve Banks, Deputy Mayor of Operations Laura Anglin, and Senior Advisor Dr. Jay Varma. With that, we'll go to Gloria from New York One.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Gloria.
Sounds like it could have been worse, and it's not that bad, so I think everyone is feeling good about that.
You are right. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you and the commissioner as well. I believe he mentioned nearly every street in New York City has been plowed, so I wonder if he could go into that a little bit more, and does he have an update? I know usually we see trouble with side streets and smaller streets in some of the other boroughs in places like Queens and Staten Island that take a little bit longer to get cleaned up. So do you have an update? And what is the, if we could get a refresher for those who need it, since we haven't had snow in such a long time, the proper snow removal etiquette, where does it go?
All right, we got you. Let's stay there. There's a lot of pieces there. Okay, Commissioner, take it away.
Yes. So with regard to every street is seen a plow, we've been plowing and salting, and every one of our salt trucks is equipped with a plow for, all through the overnight. So yes, we've seen a plow and we've seen a spreader for most of the city. And what I mean by that is every street has seen a plow by now. What you may have is residual snow left in the roadway. We do not plow to blacktop, so clearly we're going to have plenty of people out there who are saying, I need a plow. You sure do, and we're coming back. So we've completed our plow schedules. We're going to rewrite all plow schedules to re-widen streets, and we're going to get to salting to all, even into the harder residential streets. That's why we have all that investment over the years, thanks to the administration and the small equipment and the small haulsters. And we're going to get out, we're going to get salt to everybody. We just need the time to do that. With regard to snow removal and what you should do, we definitely need, once the snowfall stops, and if we get a clearing and you can get out there, we definitely want you to do your part if you're a property owner and you have to go out and do some shoveling. And we're looking for everyone to do a 4-foot path so we can account for all travelers and all pedestrians. Get out there, do your shoveling, take your time. This is a heavy, wet snow. Do your part to give us some clear sidewalks for the people who have to come by. And make sure when you're doing that, though, please don't pile the snow in front of the hydrants. We need those clear for any other emergency access. Also, don't pile onto the catch basins, because what we want to do is if we ever do get a relief from some of this weather with the cold, we need it to go and drain towards the catch basin in the streets. So there's my update on that.
Thanks very much, Commissioner. Go ahead, Gloria.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I wanted, if you have an update, I know you had to shut down COVID testing sites for the storm. When will they reopen? And did any of them sustain any sort of damage that might, I know because some of them are outdoors. So is there any damage to any of the testing sites, and when can people expect to be back?
I'll start with what I know and then see if Dr. Katz or Dr. Choksi knows anything different. I have not heard of any damage to a site. Obviously, mobile sites and sites we set up temporarily, they're easy to take down. I think that's what happened as far as I could tell. And the original concept yesterday was have them up and running at around 12 noon. I don't think anything has changed, Gloria. I think that's still true, but let me confirm and see if Dr. Katz or Dr. Choksi want to add.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you have it right. All the tents were taken down. I want to be clear that testing still went on in all our hospital emergency rooms, so that testing itself did not stop, and we do anticipate, based on the weather and the site, that the sites will reopen sometime between noon and 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Next is Rich from WCBS Radio.
Good morning, and well, I guess it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, so that's good, right?
Well, you know what? And we finally catch a break around here, Rich.
Well, I'm wondering, in regard to the vaccinations, Britain indicated that they were that it was a slower rollout than they had hoped because it was a little more complicated than they had thought. Is the pace of getting the vaccines out everything that everybody wants at this point? Or I know you're talking about a continued acceleration, but are there any complications?
I'll start, and I'll turn to Dr. Choksi and Dr. Katz. Rich, I'd say this is just the beginning of something that's going to be huge. And the first few days, everyone's being methodical and careful to get it right, to really make sure they understand exactly how to handle this vaccine, which is unusual. It's different. We haven't had one like this before. But I think it's going to be just a steady uptick. And when we really build out, we're going to be all over the city simultaneously, serving all different kinds of New Yorkers. So I think this is just a natural sort of steps it takes to get started. But Dr. Choksi, Dr. Katz, jump in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, you're exactly right. I was at Elmhurst yesterday morning. I was at Maimonides in Brooklyn in the afternoon, and Montefiore in the Bronx in the afternoon as well, checking in with their teams on the logistics, checking in with their pharmacy teams about what they have to do to get the vaccine out of the vials into syringes and into people's arms, checking in with the medical teams, to understand their protocols as well. And overall, everything is going smoothly, across all of those dimensions. But as the mayor said, this is a complicated and a dance that we want as well choreographed as possible, given that it is a new vaccine. It's one that requires this ultra cold storage and some special steps in handling as well. So overall, things are going smoothly. I expect the pace of vaccination will start to tick up in the coming days as more appointments are able to be booked. At several of the hospitals that I visited yesterday, they started their vaccination clinics as early as 6 o'clock in the morning and had a night shift going until midnight. And so I think all of those things will result in additional healthcare workers getting vaccinated over the coming days.
Great. Go ahead, Dr. Katz.
I would just add, I think Dr. Chotsky did an excellent job. I'd just add that we're all very careful to not waste any of the vaccine. And it's because they're in multi-dose vials that can only be out of the freezer for short periods of time, that especially at the beginning, we have to be super careful. But, today for us is just, the early part of day 2. And we're going to start, doing way, way more in the coming days as the procedures get easier and easier.
Excellent. Go ahead, Rich.
And I was just wondering, I wondered yesterday, I thought I heard Dr. Katz say that they might get everybody vaccinated in these hospitals within 3 weeks. And is that true? And what about these adverse reactions we're hearing about? A couple of people up in Alaska, apparently. Anything like that happening?
Dr. Katz, you speak to your hospitals, and anything you want to say on that report from Alaska, and then if Dr. Choksi or Dr. Varma want to jump in, they should as well. Go ahead, Dr. Katz.
I'll do the H&H and let Dr. Chotsky and Dr. Varma talk about the cases in Alaska. Yeah, we are committed to within 3 weeks getting everybody who is in the hospital vaccinated. We believe that we can do that. So you can be sure it will happen.
And Mitch, just clarify for everyone, you're saying across your 11 hospitals?
Yes, and all of the staff in all 11 hospitals will get vaccinated within 3 weeks.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, on the Alaska cases, go ahead, Dr. Choksi, then Dr. Varma.
Thank you. This is an important question, with respect to the more serious side effects that may occur. But let me start with the big picture, which is that the Pfizer vaccine was shown in clinical trials to be safe and effective. It was reviewed by leading scientists at the FDA and the CDC. The study that was done, the big study of the Pfizer vaccine, involved 44,000 people, and there were no serious safety concerns identified among those 44,000 people. However, it's possible that there could be some adverse reactions, including allergic reactions that can occur in very, very rare cases. We're talking about, 1 in a million type of cases as the vaccine begins to be administered to more and more people. That's why we take extra precautions when the vaccine is being administered, including an observation period of at least 15 to 30 minutes. And the event that occurred in Alaska was actually during that observation period, which allowed her to get medical attention very quickly. We have not heard of any serious adverse reactions like that in New York City, although we will continue to monitor for them and work in coordination with the CDC, which has a system for these types of serious side effects to be reported. And so we're checking in with them about it regularly as well.
Great. Dr. Varma.
Nothing else for me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Next is Marcia from WCBS.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I hope you're enjoying the snow, and maybe you got out to do a snow angel or two in the snow today. My first question is sort of a follow on what the Sanitation Commissioner said about clearing sidewalks. We're wondering if you're going to be finding restaurants that are already closed, code violations for not being able to shovel the streets in front of their restaurants during the storm, or are you going to stop doing that?
Marcia, unless I'm getting this wrong, and the Commissioner will answer, the obligation is the property owner. most restaurants obviously are renting the places where they are, but the property owner has to keep sidewalks clear so people can get by. And the commissioner said, you know, and I know this from my own experience, you got to make enough space for people to get by. Folks are depending on it, you know, and so I think that's where the responsibility lies in this place, probably not the person who runs the restaurant. Go ahead, Commissioner.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We need everybody to clear their sidewalk. The responsibility does fall to the property owner. We're very cognizant of the climate with regard to businesses that are struggling, people that are struggling, and also very cognizant to the climate of the pandemic and social distancing. However, we need the sidewalks and rights of way for the pedestrians clear for those critical workers and essential workers like nurses who also may be walking to work.
Exactly right. Go ahead, Marcia.
Mr. Mayor, my second question has to do with the stimulus being negotiated in Washington right now. My understanding is that Senator Schumer and other officials from New York are trying to negotiate to get some money for New York City as a bridge to when they could get to the Biden administration, which might not happen until February or so. I wonder what kind of a bind that puts you in terms of developing your own budget. I think you have to have a fiscal plan sometime in January, or are you planning on pushing that up as well to see what happens after the Biden administration takes office?
No, very important question, Marcia. Thank you. We're going to present the preliminary budget in January, regardless of what happens with the stimulus. And we will adjust according to whether they have achieved something in the stimulus for this city or not. We'll show people what we have to do, but it's going to be based only on the facts as we have them. We're obviously going to make reference to the fact that there could be more stimulus. But I want to caution, part of why I'm so agitated about the current negotiations is I don't have a guarantee there's going to be another stimulus. We don't know what's going to happen in the elections in Georgia. We don't know what is going to happen in the Senate. We do know Mitch McConnell consistently has been standing in the way of aid to localities. So there's cities, counties, states all over the country that are suffering, and Mitch McConnell keeps blocking help to them. And I'm very worried about that. So I don't know when the next stimulus is. That's why I want to see this stimulus actually help us get back on our feet. But whatever comes of this, we will reflect the outcome in the January budget, and we're going to put a budget on the table that reflects the reality. Go ahead.
Next, we have Andrew from WNBC.
Andrew. Andrew, can you hear us?
Andrew, are you there?
I think he's there, but he's not hearing us. Andrew Sif, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
As Andrew braves the elements, we're going to go to Nolan from the New York Post.
That's live. That was exciting, dramatic audio of Andrew in the elements. Okay, we'll come back to him. Who we have now? Nolan. Okay. How you doing, Nolan?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good, but I'm not hearing you very loudly. Can we get that volume up? Try again, Nolan.
Is this better?
There you go. There you go.
I'll just yell.
No, don't yell. Don't yell. You're all good.
All right. So to follow up on the questions about the stimulus, it doesn't look like there's going to be much in the way of aid for cities and states at this moment. You banked your 2022 budget around getting a lot of aid. What's the plan if it doesn't show up? Mitch McConnell's answer to we need to plow the streets is cities and states should go bankrupt. Like, what's your plan B if the aid doesn't show up?